Okay, everyone, thank you for being here today. And also for those people who will be listening in. I know more and more people in a good way. Sorry, I have to take off my sore muscle patch. In a good way, people are listening into our recordings later, which is wonderful. So I'm excited to be here with you all today to talk about how to best handle and navigate the gig economy. A lot more people are looking at a side hustle to add to their income for lots of different reasons. So there's a lot of different situations and reasons why people might be considering the gig economy. And we're going to talk about that today and how to navigate things as effectively as you possibly can. And we are hosted today by Georgia State and also have friends of my organization as well. So just by way of very quick introduction, for those of you who have not attended one of our seminars before, I'm Hallie Crawford. I'm a certified career coach. I am located, or my company is located in Atlanta, Georgia, not far, probably like 5 minutes away from Georgia State, just a little bit north of the city, upwards of, or just a little bit north of Midtown. I love what I do. Our coaches do as well. We've been coaching and training since 2002. So it's been a very long time. And the advice that we are going to give you all today to help you understand not just what the gig economy is, but how to decide whether it's the right thing for you is advice that we give to all of our clients. And I have an undergraduate degree from Vanderbilt University and a master's degree from the University of Illinois. And because today we are going to try to give you a lot of helpful information, we don't want you to walk away feeling overwhelmed. So in an ideal world, a couple of things admin-wise. Number one, you will receive the slides and the recording of today automatically. So what I would invite you to do is sit back and absorb the information versus feel like you have to frantically write everything down, but also choose one action step that makes the most sense for you and your situation, where you are in the process of managing or entering into the gig economy. Then you can pick up with everything else later, as we just discussed, because you will get the materials. So let's talk first about our agenda for today so we know where we're going. Couple of things. Number one, we want you to define the reasoning behind, or defining the why behind your interest in the gig economy and if it makes sense for you. The second thing we want to talk about today is making sure that it's the right fit for you. We will review our ideal career model together for a couple of minutes so that you know and understand fully kind of what you're getting into in a good way, but what the pros and cons are, and making sure that it can be a good fit for you. And we'll use our model for that purpose. Then we'll talk about research and how you can find different opportunities, kind of try them out a little bit, and then creating a plan and a structure for making this happen if you decide it's the right thing for you. I am going to put some resources in the chat box along the way. So if you could locate that, find where that is, there's the kind of toolbar right there. And if you don't mind just locating the chat box and just give me a yes or a thumbs up, please. I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay and also can see my slides okay. So if you can just put like a yes in there, that would be fantastic. Good. I've got the thumbs up. Just want to make sure that this technology is working. So thank you so much for that. All right, so let's talk about the gig economy and the difference, which I don't think there's a huge difference, honestly, but between that and a side hustle. So when we think about a side hustle, most people define that as a part-time job for extra money. Or in some cases, people might take on a side hustle, and this would be an okay reason to do this. So I want to just kind of point this out. In some cases, our clients will take on a side hustle because they want to transition or shift into a new industry, or into a different organization or a different career path. And that side hustle is something that can help them move in that direction and gain that experience. So that's one thing that you can do if you're looking to shift career paths long term. That's honestly what I did when I wanted to start my coaching practice. I started it on the side while I still had a full-time position so that financially I was remaining stable and being smart about things. And then I moved into the side hustle as my first, when I launched my business in 2002. Now, the gig economy, if you take a look at this slide, is where more and more people, or not just the majority of people, but it's characterized, so to speak, by most people having like freelance work or short-term contracts versus full-time traditional work or permanent jobs, if you will. So if you are thinking about like being a gig worker, this is something that people will do, and they'll have multiple different things that they do. They could be similar, related, or they could be a little bit different, but that's kind of how their career path is unfolding for them or what they're wanting. So that's the difference between the two. You can kind of see how they overlap a little bit. And if you look at the statistic here at the bottom, there's a lot of people out there that do either rely on or want to get into or have a secondary income stream. It's something that's more normal these days than it used to be. So just know that there's different ways to kind of put the puzzle together, if you will, based on your situation. So let's take a look next at these next couple of slides and the reasons why you might be considering a side hustle or entering into the gig economy, so to speak. And we want you to think about these because there's a lot of different options here or reasons you might consider it. And you want to know and understand why you're interested in getting into this, because you want to be clear about like your goals, etc. So some people, because they want to work remotely or they just like having a variety, they want to do remote work or, having a lot of different types of jobs, they get into it because of that. Sometimes people have been laid off and this is a way for them to kind of supplement or handle things financially until they find something that's full-time. Some people are concerned about inflation. And like we said earlier, for long-term career planning, in order to, or if you want to make a move into something different, this could be a way that you can do that. So lots of different reasons to consider it and keep those in mind. It can help with your career transition because if you want to enter into something different, then you've got that real world experience from, let's say, doing something on the side. In some cases, if people are thinking about trying something different career-wise, this is a way to allow them to try something new to see if they even like it and if it works for them. We had a client who she was in human resources, and in the back of her mind, she loved writing, and she always thought, gosh, I really would love to at least try my hand at being a novelist. She tried it on the side and gave herself about 6 months to kind of see how it went. And she actually decided, I don't want to do this, because she didn't realize that she wouldn't be as comfortable as she thought she might be with selling herself and promoting herself. And it also kind of took the fun out of it for her. So this is a way to kind of try something, dip your toe in the water before you go, whole hog, so to speak. In some cases, it can help you get a higher salary or that extra income, like we said, greater flexibility and different kinds of benefits if it's working remotely or a little bit of both. Or for some people, it ends up being like a retirement job for later on. The reasons why we want you to consider this and be mindful is so that you have a plan and know what your goal is, okay? So the best way to think about the gig economy and a side hustle is to say, okay, what's the opportunity here for me? And in an ideal world, if it can be a little more about just the money, that's always a nice to have. It doesn't have to be that way, but you at least want to find something that's going to be rewarding for you outside of the financial piece, I believe, because otherwise you can just get burned out. So the gig economy is appealing for people for a lot of different reasons. So let's talk about these for a moment on this next slide. For some people, they like that flexibility and variety, but you need to think about this for yourself, right? Because for other people, having that flexibility and variety is actually stressful. So you want to understand and know what your personality type is, and if you can tolerate managing and kind of juggling different things. The second reason people will do this is the potential to make more money. In some cases or ways, you become or can become like a small business owner if you've got multiple gigs, okay? People also are interested in it because of the independence and the ability to kind of be their own boss. That does not work for everyone. So again, as we're talking here today, we want you to realize and be realistic about whether that's going to be a good fit for you or not. And the last two reasons why people are drawn to this is the freedom, decide on the work that you want to do or when you want to work, and also that new challenge or an ability or opportunity to gain new skills. Now, I'll tell you, right, when we talk about this, decide when you want to work, you also have to pay your bills. So it's not like you're going to be sitting around eating bonbons, obviously. And I've had some clients say to me, for example, like, I don't know how you do this, Hallie, because I'm afraid if I was working from home and I didn't have a boss, I would just watch TV all day. So this is the type of thing we got to think about. Are you a self-motivated type of person where you can work independently like that and still push yourself without someone else doing so? So when you're deciding on whether this is a good fit for you and also what the different opportunities are that you might be considering, you want to identify what your top reasons are. Will this enable you to achieve your goals, whatever those goals are? Is this a realistic plan for me? Am I going to be able to get the work, keep the work, etc.? And are you a fit for it? And this kind of piggybacks on what we were just talking about a moment ago. The entrepreneurial spirit isn't enough. It's a good kind of stepping stone and really important piece of it. But we want you to understand also, like we've been saying, your personality type, your tolerance for risk, your kind of self-motivation and get up and go to make sure that you're going to be able to make this happen and steer things in the right way for you. And when you're thinking about what the right opportunities might be for you, and if this is going to be a good fit at all, some of the things that we do want you to consider in advance in order to decide yes or no, but also what are the best opportunities for me, is to think a little bit about these three questions. How do you define success? And does success or the, being in the gig economy or having a side hustle help enable you to fit the bill or create that vision or make that happen for yourself? The second thing we'd like you to think about is, what's your ideal day at work? What does that look like for you? Is it at home? Is it outside? Is it active? Is it something else? And when you're thinking about your ideal day, remember, if you're participating, let's say, in the gig economy, and even more so working remotely, you're going to be alone a lot of the time. And is that okay with you too? Or does your ideal day at work look like you've got a bunch of people around you and we need to figure out how to make that happen? And then finally, if it's for more money, is it realistic for you? You need to look at, what would I get paid? How many hours can I reasonably do this during the course of my work week? And is that going to fit the bill? So be smart about the money piece as well. Now, number two, when we're identifying options. So that first step we just talked about was identifying your why and kind of the reasoning and making sure that it's going to fit the bill, so to speak. Now, when we're thinking about different options for you, we'd like for you to use our ideal career model. You can remember, you'll get the recording, and the slides automatically. So with the slides, you can always print this out and start to think about it for me and say, for example, let's start with salary and benefits over here. Am I going to get the benefits that I really need? Like, how am I going to get health insurance, et cetera? And is what I'm going to get paid going to be worth dealing with the other, like the cons of the gig economy, right? Am I going to make enough to be having to juggle different things, etc.? The second thing we want you to think about is over here with your personality type. Is this the right work environment for you? Working solo? Or do you need to find like hoteling space or some kind of gig work, maybe where it is working within a team or within an office? And are you cut out for it in the first place? Another thing we want you to think about, the third thing, is to consider with your possible options, do you want to leverage your existing experience, education, and strengths, these three blue boxes here, okay? Or are you seeking to gain or obtain new experience and skills, etc.? So that can help you narrow down your ideas and options and decide which ones are going to be the best ones for you. And then finally, last but absolutely not least, to make sure that we're covering all of our bases here, is the fulfillment piece. How much do you feel like you want to feel like your gig work or side hustle is rewarding to you? Or do you get that more from somewhere else in your life? It's okay. There's no right or wrong answer here, but you at least want to consider this fulfillment piece. Will the job be rewarding for you enough so that you'll be motivated to do it? And what will be your primary responsibilities and will they align with your interests? So we're making sure that when you're looking at our ideal career model, these are the components to the right career path for you. And you need to be able to check all of the boxes, including the work environment, which we talked about a little bit up here, and making sure that that's the right fit for you, depending on whether you're more introverted or extroverted, whether you are more of a leader or like to be a little bit more detail oriented and behind the scenes. So with personality type, you also need to consider, are you comfortable selling yourself and getting a new contract or selling yourself with your services? Are you able to create structure or routine for yourself? Because if you're not, you're going to have to figure out like, okay, is someone else going to need to help me with that? Or is this going to be a little bit tough for me? I remember on my first day of starting my business, I actually lived in Chicago at the time. And I sat there and I was like, okay, what do? I had to create everything from scratch. You need to be comfortable with that. We already talked about the third bullet point over here, whether you're more introverted or extroverted. There's no right or wrong here. You can be in the gig economy either way, but you just need to have that self-awareness to understand where you might need some help or what structures you need to put in place. And then we've talked a bunch about whether you're self-motivated. You absolutely need to be in order to make this work. Now, the work environment, the things that we want you to think about a little bit more here related to this particular piece of the model is you need to consider whether you're okay and have a high enough risk tolerance, so to speak, of the stress of like you don't have the traditional like company behind you or the steady paycheck you know is going to be always coming through. That stress of what people call produce or perish, if that's going to be okay with you. Is it okay for you to work by yourself or do you need a team? In some cases, especially at the beginning, there's going to be less financial stability. And are you okay with that? Can you handle that? And how can you work around it? Do you need to tap into savings? Do you need to create some savings before you do this? Or do something on the side like I did while I was working full time? And then the last item, critically important, is where you're going to get your benefits from. Are you going to save on your own for retirement? What are we going to do about health insurance and all of those other benefits that just come with a package from an employer? Now, please know that as we're talking about this, I am not trying to dissuade anyone from the gig economy or a side hustle. I mean, this is what I do. I'm a business owner. I love it. I always just want people to be realistic about it and go in with their eyes wide open. There's fantastic things about it. I thrive on the risk to a certain extent. I can handle it. And for me, that's actually one of my values. So I can deal with it and it's motivating for me. I have enough of the personality type that I am self-motivated, but I also have a coach And my coach is my business coach and helps me with certain things too. So I always would recommend getting help with this along the way so that you make sure that you're structuring things properly, etc. Okay, so that's step number 2, is to identify those opportunities and kind of evaluate the right fit. Let's talk about step number 3, and this is to do your research and homework. And by the way, if you use any of these options listed on this slide to identify gigs for yourself, this is part of doing that research and homework to identify whether it's a good fit. So please know that we don't expect you to have all of the answers from the self-reflection that we already talked about. You may need to do a little bit of homework, okay? So for example, is freelance the best thing for you? I want to perform services for multiple clients because I like that variety. Am I going to be a consultant that's just for one organization, or maybe it's for multiple organizations, and you could kind of consider that freelance. You're an advisor and an expert in something. Independent contractors are similar or more similar than consultants and freelancers than traditional employees, but are independent. The majority of the time they need to pay for their own benefits, etc. Then you've got temp work, which is temporary, like independent contract work that you may be doing, and then they hire you full time at whatever point. And then the other kind of category, if you will, is seasonal workers, where you may move around depending on the season for the specific type of job that makes sense for them, the winter versus summer. And this is temporary services, obviously, as independent contractors. So when you're performing your research and trying to understand not just how to secure your gig, but also planning for, is this going to work for me and how to deal with this? Couple of things that you want to do on the left-hand side first here of this slide is to set some financial goals and say, if this is what I need to make, is all of this that I'm considering going to be able to make that happen? Okay. Talk with your accountant, check on taxes, how you're going to manage that, those different kinds of things. I have an accountant that I use who specializes in working with small businesses. So he knows exactly what I need to know about all of the financial ins and outs related to taxes, but a little bit too on financial planning. So financial advisor can come in handy here as well. Researching the benefits. What are the requirements of benefits you need to have, and can you make that happen? It's a great idea, as the third and last item on the left-hand side here, to talk to some people who do this, who are in this kind of gig work that you're interested in. Ideally doing kind of the exact same thing, or at least something related. And this is where your GSU alumni network can come in incredibly handy. Leverage their LinkedIn group, their alumni networking features and tools so that you can talk with other people to find out what it's really like and what a typical day is like before you make the leap. And then finally, for this slide, and then we'll keep going, is as part of your research on the right-hand side, you need to be thinking about and researching, how am I going to secure my gig? Is it a staffing agency, a job board, the website's Upwork, where you can post yourself like as a freelancer? So remember that some of these job options are going to have pre-existing customers and a platform maybe that they provide to you. If you're working, let's say, as an independent contractor, you don't have to sell yourself, let's just say. But if you're doing things that are more like it's your own business and your own thing, you're going to have to consider the importance of and your comfort level with selling yourself effectively. Now, when you're doing your research, we want you to make a pros and cons list and have both. The drawbacks for this can be lower pay in some cases, that possibly inconsistent income, lack of benefits, the taxes and expenses that you're going to have to shell out a little bit. In some cases, for people, just managing this is too stressful for them. And if you are not good at creating structure for yourself, you either need to think about that, and is this okay for me? Or how am I going to get help with it? And again, if any of these things, you're like, you know what, I think I probably could do this, or I can get some help around it to help me navigate it, that's completely fine. Like I said a moment ago, I don't want you to feel like we're talking you out of it. We just want you to go in with your head on straight. So just as an FYI, we always offer a free consult to learn about our coaching services and how we can help you figure out if this is the right path for you. What are the right options for you based on what's realistic, but also would be rewarding, and helping you structure making this happen too. We work with clients on this all the time. You can use the QR code here on the slide. I also put a link to this same page in the chat box. And please let us know if you've attended this webinar and if you're a GSU alum, because I'd be happy to give you that coupon code. We do give a discount. Now, let's take a look before we start to close for today, what some of the 10 best gig economy jobs are. You can take a look at these. These can give you some ideas. You can look through the slides and the recording later on, but this can give you some ideas about what some of those jobs might be for you and what, if any of these could be appealing, to help you brainstorm some different options. And then if we look at this next slide, the 7 best, so to speak, gig economy platforms are listed on this slide as well. Upwork is the most common, I think, and has been around for the longest. There's also Guru, there's Flex Jobs, there's remote.co actually as well. So you can check these out to get a sense of how they work, which one makes the most sense for you, but also see what the competition is. Like, what are other people putting themselves out there for, so that you have a sense of how much of a demand there might be for the service you might be wanting to provide. And then finally, our 4th step for today is to create your plan. So remember, we talked through each of these steps, defining your why and your reason behind this and your goals, figuring out if it's the right fit, doing your research, and then you want to create your plan and say, okay, like, what's my 3, 6, 9-month goal? And if you want to test this out a little bit, you might say to yourself, let me try things out for 3 months and see how it goes. So a couple of things we want to say from this slide, that if you are going to have shorter stints at different types of positions, that's totally okay, but you need to be prepared to explain why you like this gig economy so that a prospective employer isn't worried about it for some reason, or prospective client. It's okay to compare and have multiple offers for different things. And if you decide, for example, I want to have a few different gig jobs, that is fine, but you want to make sure that you've got that you don't let them overlap, or that there's kind of blurred lines between them, because you need to make sure that you're really focusing on each client and customer individually. And finally, one of the things that we do want you to research as you're creating your plan is what your services might be worth. And you can do that by looking at the competition. You can use ChatGPT for any of these steps that we've talked about today, but get a sense of what you're worth so that you understand what you should be charging. On this next slide, we help our clients create a professional development plan for their gig work. We're happy to do that with you if you feel like you need it. We can start out with like a one-time session and go from there. But some of the foundational things are on this slide that we'd like you to be thinking about. Start at like 1 or 2 years out, whatever's best for you, and work backwards. Develop that vision of what you want. Include the obstacles that you might encounter along the way and how you're going to deal with them. And when we work with our clients, we have a template that we can help them, that we give to you to help you create this. And there's some other things that we want you to make sure you include in your plan: networking, where you're going to apply, how you're going to put your shingle out, all of that other good stuff. And then finally, when you are thinking about the gig economy, and even or especially if there's multiple things you're looking at, you need to add into your plan how you're going to take care of yourself and set that structure, because otherwise you're going to be all over the place. So we've got to be really careful about that. This is where the coaching can come in to help you with this. But we really want you to make sure that not just that you have a plan, but you've got a structure for how you're going to approach all of this. So I wanted to mention before we go to today really quickly, we've got an amazing boot camp coming up for job seekers. And it's not just for people who are looking for a full-time job. It's for gig economy people or side hustle people too. The boot camp is in a couple of weeks. The dates are on here. The recordings will be included. The slides will be included. There's a ton of great resources and materials. But bottom line, we teach you how to get in front of the right people to get that job, whatever that looks like. You can use the QR code to check out that program a little bit more. There's also a link in the chat box as well. And I would love it from today, and I know we're just a little bit over time, so I want to be mindful of that, and I'll close. Look out for the slides and recording in your email automatically. I would love it if you would write down one action step that you will take for the next week to move in this direction, to figuring this out for you, whether it's updating your resume, networking, or just figuring out what the right opportunities are for you. Please feel free to schedule a consult with us, check out our boot camp, and our next GSU Alumni and Friends webinar is on July 29th. You can register here. It's how new managers can make their mark. If you are on our newsletter list already, you will get a reminder of this. Thank you so much for your time today, everybody. I hope this was helpful for you. Have a great day. Oh, and Tony, the bootcamp link is in the chat box. So check that out if you would.